Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to install our stator assembly and flywheel and get the stator cover installed on the motor. I have an OEM flywheel here. I have a Ricky Stator. I've always liked their stators, and actually the last build I did about 12-13 years ago, I liked their lightweight flywheels that they used to carry, but unfortunately they do not carry those anymore. Have our stator cover, Cerakoted in black to match the motor, gasket. We've got, these are screws for, I guess the regulator that attaches over on the counterbalancer bearing retainer here. New washer and nut for the flywheel. Torque wrench. We have a keyway for the crank here. So we're going to go ahead and get set up to get that installed. I guess first thing is going to be to open up our box here. See what our stator includes. Okay, so we've got our stator and our pickup assembly that will then mount onto the counterbalancer for the flywheel there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get that set up to be bolted on. Okay, first thing I did was set my keyway in. Just press that right into the slot on the end of the crankshaft. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to position our stator. It's going to be a little awkward if just getting it into place and holding it there. Okay, it's going to fit right in around the crankshaft into place, and then you've got 3 bolts we're going to have to put in. Got them right here. I am going to put a little dab of blue Loctite on them, just because I do not want them to come loose at all and back out behind that flywheel. I'm going to just dab a little Loctite on them and get them started. Okay, got that first one in there. Once you get the first bolt in, kind of hold it into place, it becomes a little easier. Doesn't feel as awkward because you're not trying to support the stator and line everything up. We get that third one in. Now, I didn't find a specific torque spec for these bolts. Even the manual just says to install the bolts and just snug them up. The only torque spec on this part that I've really found has been for the stator cover and obviously for the flywheel itself. The flywheel is, I believe it's 47 to 53 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to snug these. And then obviously we're just going to get our wire into position. I'm going to put a little dielectric grease on this, and then we'll slide that into place. Okay, little dielectric grease on this rubber grommet makes it slide into place a lot easier. You obviously want to get this in all the way because there is no notch in the cover. So the flat surface of this really does need to be flush with this surface so that your cover makes a good seal. There will be a little bit sticking out that the gasket and the cover will end up compressing, and to seal that off. So as long as you got it in there all the way, we're good. Next, we're going to go ahead and secure our pickup on to our counterbalancer. That will go on there. Okay, we got our pickup into place, got our bolts started. Now we're just going to go ahead and secure these and snug them up good. Again, same thing as the bolts on the Stator. They're going to just be snugged up, and I did put a little dab of blue Loctite on there again, just so that they don't come through, you know, loosen up and possibly back out. And we'll just snug them up good. They're small bolts, you do not want to break them. And the next thing will be the installation of the flywheel. The flywheel, you're going to see you do have your keyway notch there. See if I can pick that up in the light. Right there. So when you put that on, you want to make sure you line that up. And you'll feel it, because when it locks into place, you'll be able to lock it in. As we can see there, we've got good space there on our magnetic pickup. You do have your timing marks here. There shouldn't be any issues with that. There are some timing marks on the flywheel, but bottom line, as long as you're in on the keyway, you should be fine there. I don't think that you'd have to worry about anything else unless you were using a bearing retainer that had the adjustable pickup for OEM installation. There's really nothing to line up than lining up the keyway as you install it. Next is going to be to get the washer and the nut for the flywheel and get that installed. Okay, got our washer, put that on, have our new nut. I did put a little blue Loctite on there as well. Do not want that to back off. It's a 17 millimeter. So we're going to bump that on. That's going to help seat the flywheel on the taper. Make sure it's secure, and then we'll go ahead and torque that nut. Okay, I bumped the nut on with my impact, my 3/8 impact. Just bumped it on a very low setting to snug it up. I have my clutch tool on the back side here, securing the clutch. That will swing around as we're torquing this and stop the crank from spinning. I'm going to set my torque wrench to 50 foot-pounds, right in the middle of the range there. And then we're going to go ahead and torque that up. Perfect. Okay. Next is going to be to get our cover installed and gasket. So we're going to go ahead and line that up and get that all ready to go in. Okay. Test fitted the cover. This rubber grommet, at least the Ricky Stator one, I don't know if it's an OEM or if it's their version. Very difficult to compress it enough to actually make a good seal here. So I literally trimmed about 1/16 of an inch off of this front face of it. And obviously I don't have the gasket in place, but now I can easily compress it and make a nice seal. So we're gonna go ahead and get that installed. I have an OEM Honda gasket here with our cover. And then we have our 6 bolts that hold it on. I am gonna put some anti-seize on these bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cover in place, get the bolts started, and then we will snug them up and get them tightened up. Okay, got the cover in place, got them started. Now putting the rest of the bolts in. Now this gasket I'm putting on dry. The Stator is a dry area, or it should be dry on your motor. So putting this gasket on dry will make a seal. I'm not worried about having oil leak out, and I can easily take it on and off as needed if there's any issues or anything that has to be adjusted. So get the rest of these bolts in and snug them up. I believe the torque spec on these is somewhere around 14 foot-pounds. It's not real not real heavy. Really don't. Now, before I did put this on, I did spin my crank and flywheel just to make sure everything spun smoothly. I apologize, I did not have that on film. So I'm going to go back, get ready to snug these up, and then we'll get this torqued up. Okay, so we're just crossing these in a crisscross pattern. And again, I just double checked the manual, and there's no specific torque listed for these. They do say, there is a table on the chapter where this is, and it says engine mounting bolts, 8mm, 18 to like 21 foot-pounds. I can't imagine putting 21 foot-pounds of torque on these, because when I've got those pretty secure there, and if I put my torque wrench on, yeah, I mean, I can add more pressure to them, but I feel like I'm going to strip them out. So pretty much I just snug them up by hand. And again, you don't have fluid behind this one. You're just keeping moisture out. And the anti-seize I put on there wasn't extensive, just enough to keep any interaction between the metals from seizing any of these bolts in there. On the motor that I disassembled to get my internals for this one, this case bolt was actually snapped off in the original case. So we're looking to obviously prevent that. And that concludes it. There's the installation of our stator, our flywheel, our pickup, installation of the cover, the flywheel. We're all set. So that left side of the motor is now complete. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps anybody else going through and doing this installation. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them below. If you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.